Welcome, I'm Paul, this is Dave. Today I have 12 Glitch in the Matrix and supernatural stories for you. Step by step, distance is immaterial. Case file number 2536, written by FN 5150. Dirty Saint Nick and the Great San Diego Skip. Was pulling out of the driveway of my work parking lot onto El Cajon Boulevard, the main street in front of our complex. I was with my dad, so it wasn't just me. I'm sitting there waiting for traffic so I can take a right, and because the front of your car kind of blocks the sidewalk, this homeless-looking guy walks in front of the car and stares right at me. Can still see him in my mind, clear as day. Looked kind of like Santa Claus. Long white beard, long white hair, disheveled looking with dirty clothes, and had a backpack on, and a rolled up sleeping bag was under his arm. He literally locked eyes with me. At the time, I just thought that he was pissed, that he had to walk around the front of my car, as that happens occasionally. So he keeps walking, my dad and I take a right, drive a quarter of a mile, take a right onto the main road that takes us down past San Diego State University, in order to get to the freeway. This is maybe 3-4 miles away and only took us a few minutes. We get down to just before the freeway entrance where there is a 4-way intersection. We are stopped at the stoplight. I look over to my right and guess who is walking down the sidewalk. Same guy, same beard, same backpack, same rolled up sleeping bag under his arm. There was no conceivable way he could have made it that far that fast. Even if he had jumped in a car and jumped out, there was just no way. My dad and I went through every possibility we could, and nothing made sense or was physically possible. My only regret is that we didn't try to stop and talk to him, and ask him, "Hey, didn't I just see you up on El Cajon Boulevard?" or something similar. When we first saw the guy, my dad was staring right at him. He was hard to miss because the guy walked right in front of the car and kinda gave me one of those looks. When we saw him the second time, I saw him first and asked my dad, "Hey, isn't that the same guy we saw back up at the office?" And my dad said, "It can't be. There's no way he could have made it down here that fast. Nothing more than a coincidence." And I was like, "No, look, it's him. That's the guy, it's him. Look. Everything's the same. His backpack, his sleeping bag, everything." And so on until my dad started to say, "I think you're right. Holy crap, how did it get here so fast? He had to have jumped on a motorcycle or something." To which I replied, "Dad, I think we would have noticed a motorcycle passing us, much less with a homeless Santa on the back." We then proceeded to try and figure out exactly how the guy got there. There was no question at all, no doubt whatsoever, that it was the same guy. My dad is not religious, doesn't believe in ghosts or UFOs, or any of that kind of stuff. I'm much more open-minded. You got yourself a space-time portal, baby. Of course, the question then is, why did the guy not seem to react much? Didn't describe him as looking scared or confused? To him, was it a copy of himself, or did he really pour it over and just not notice? Case file number 2537, written by CleanAd955. The 70-degree mystery. Who turned it on? This happened 3 years ago, and my old roommates and I still discuss it, though we don't live together anymore. Kinda funny. One of the perks about our apartment was every room had a thermostat for the heat. It was winter when we moved in, so everyone had the heat on in their rooms. All were located by the entrance, and we remembered seeing mine on the tour. My room being the smallest, it was what made us realize every room had it. When I went to turn on mine, I could not find it for the life of me. I got all of us in my room to look for it, and we removed everything except 2 boxes on the floor. We closed the door and all 3 of us scanned every wall. We spent 30 minutes doing this. The next day, we put in a request to maintenance, and our landlord chuckles at us for it. But regardless, sent someone just in case it was the heater itself that was broken down. Mind you, this whole week all 3 of us looked for this thermostat, thinking the first day we were just scatterbrained from moving, or they have removed it in the time from our tour and painted over. I don't put anything on the walls, and I'm staying in my girlfriend's room since mine was freezing. I'm last to unpack from this move, and have all boxes just laying in the middle of the room, minus some clothes in the closet and my bed for this reason. When the maintenance comes, he enters the room, turns to the right, and at eye level, it's right there, heat already on. Dude laughs at us and leaves 10 minutes later. All of us were in disbelief, and it remained the only thermostat that looked different from the rest. No idea how the heat was already on, turned to 70. It had been off all week. Gave us all goosebumps, but we too just laughed it off. That's a good attitude to have. Just laugh off glitches, because you'll probably experience more. Case file number 2538, written by Super Saddy XOXO. Hat, shirt, stride. I was on 587 going from Greenville to Raleigh, North Carolina, about an hour ago. I was driving on the rightmost lane, and I saw a guy walking towards my car on the side of the road. The speed limit is 70 miles per hour around there, and for a second I was only going about 65 when I passed him, and just casually glanced at him as I drove by. He was a black guy, kinda heavier set, had a huge weird hat on, kinda like a toboggan, but really fuzzy and kinda taller. He was wearing a gray shirt and torn, nasty-looking pants, and was swinging his arms in a really particular weird way that kinda made me think he was high or something. I passed him and kept going about 70 miles per hour for about 10 more minutes or so, still on the rightmost lane, and I saw him. The same exact guy, the same hat, the same weird arm movements, still walking toward my car in the same direction. Traffic was really light, so I had plenty of time to see him coming, and I just couldn't believe it. I had time to get a pretty good look at him, and it was exactly the same person. Sometimes I wonder, maybe these are just like echoes of the person. Maybe it's not always a space-time portal, because you would think these people would react to seeing the same car, assuming your car is noticeable enough, unique enough. Maybe he really didn't realize that he was just ported forward. And I mean, I guess the more similar the environment, like a highway, the more believable that is. You're just walking along, maybe staring down a bit. If you intersect with a portal and you're moved 3 miles ahead, it's still the same highway, the same trees, whatever's there. It probably doesn't look very different, and you don't feel anything happening. So yeah, you may just not notice, outside of time or reaching a destination faster. Case file number 2539, written by Anonymous. The Blonde Mystery of Room 3. A brief preface before I share my story. I consider myself a rationalist. I'm normally the kind of person who dismisses paranormal phenomena and proposes that there is always a rational explanation. However, something happened to me 2 days ago that really weirded me out, precisely because I cannot find any rational explanation for it at all. So I decided to share my story and see what others may think. There is a small gym where I live that is accessible to all residents. It's not a private gym that you get a membership at, just a freebie for all residents of the neighborhood. You can get in using the same electronic key that you use to get in the apartment complex itself. The gym's layout is very important to the story. It only has one entrance and exit and is essentially comprised of 4 consecutive rooms in a linear fashion. You enter room 1, which leads to room 2 through a single doorway, which leads to room 3 through a single doorway, which leads to the 4th and final room through a single doorway. None of these rooms have a door, only an open doorway. Rooms 1 and 3 are quite small, around 12 square meters each. Room 4 is a little more spacious, maybe 20-ish square meters. 2 days ago, I was at the gym. I was doing an exercise in room 4. There was another guy there with me. I finished my exercise and I walked to room 1 to grab a yoga mat, in order to do abs, which I normally do in room 1. However, my usual spot was taken by 2 people, a man and a younger boy. Like I said before, these rooms are quite small, so I decided to plop my yoga mat on room 2 instead. Now at this point, I have walked from room 4 to room 1 and then to room 2, and I've seen 3 people, the guy my age, the older man, and the boy. I set my yoga mat right next to the doorway of room 2 that leads between rooms 1 and 2. the doorway was right in front of me. If, hypothetically, anyone went from room 1 to rooms 2, 3, or 4, or vice versa, they would have to pass right in front of me. Behind me, solid wall. There is physically no way anyone could pass behind me. I start doing my ab crunches. I did a couple of sets, idly browsing on my phone in between sets. I then started doing my next set, and halfway through, I saw a little girl in room 3. I could see her through the doorway between room 2 and 3. She was casually strolling around as kids do. She looked at me for a split second, and then strolled away from my line of sight deeper into room 3, where I could no longer see her through the doorway. She was not an apparition, not a fleeting image or anything like that. A proper little girl, flesh and blood. She was wearing a red jacket and had blonde hair. It immediately struck me as odd that there was a little girl there, because I had not seen a little girl in the gym in the 1 hour I had been there. I finished my exercise, but I was so bewildered by what I had just seen that I decided to stand up and check. I walked from room 2 to room 3. The little girl was not there. I walked into room 4. The little girl was not there either, just the one guy. I walked back to rooms 2 and 1, not there either. What the fuck did I see then? How was the girl not there anymore? There is no way she could have left the gym, unless she had passed right in front of me in order to go to room 1 and the exit. Similarly, how did she get there in the first place? She would have to have had passed in front of me in order to be in room 3, but at no point did I ever see her come or go in front of me, and at no point after that afternoon had I seen this little girl in the gym, or any other day. All this time I've been going to the same gym for that matter. I wanted to ask the people at the gym, "Hey, did you see a little girl here just now?" But I decided against it because A, I thought it was a very strange thing to ask, and I did not want my neighbors to think I'm crazy, and B, honestly, I was so weirded out that I was not sure how to react. I finished my workout a few minutes later and left without asking. I regret it. I should have asked, because this thing has been bugging me a lot. The only reasonable explanation I can come up with is that the little girl may have walked past me while I was focused on my exercise, and maybe had my eyes closed or something. However, I'm fairly certain that this did not happen. I tend to be quite aware of my surroundings. I could concede that she may have walked into room 3 without me realizing. However, from the moment that I spotted her, I was very alert, because her presence immediately struck me as odd. I am confident in saying that after I saw her, I was very alert though, that I would have definitely seen her if she had passed in front of me to leave. So yeah, that's my story. Nothing particularly scary or dark or grim, just a really weird occurrence. Yep, precisely as you summed it up, it's not grim or dark or anything like that, it's just weird, which is the essence of a glitch. Case file number 2540, written by Serious Roll 3294. The Orchard at Platform 9 and What the Hell. So a couple years ago, I was coming home from a friend's place. While going to the train station, I encountered a somewhat interesting sight. 2 benches, on one of which were 2 bags of unattended apples, and in between which was a pate of female shoes, with one of the heels missing. My life is very boring, so I decided to just observe. I sat down on the 3rd bench nearby and waited. People would come by, and a couple of them took an apple or 2. I doubt they knew each other, because they were coming from and going to different places. 2 somewhat drunk guys passed by, looking at the apples with appetite, but went on to go to the store. Then a man appeared and just took the bag of apples. First he looked around, as if to check that no one was there, and just left. The guys came back with beer, seemingly pissed. So the apples were gone, and it became boring. So I decided to get on the train. I bought a ticket, got to the platform, and decided to look back at the benches. And what do you know? New fucking bag of apples. Just like, huh? A couple of people came by and took some apples as well. Like, I know it's not that strange, but just like, huh? I've been at that place many times before and after, and like, no apples were there. The day before there were no apples. Why the apples? Who put them there? And why would they leave them? And why was it exactly during the 2 minutes I was gone? I still think about that sometimes because what? That part of town also was not even residential, it's just a road, forest, and a train station. I don't know, it still confuses me to this day. Well, I would say, universal apples flowing from a different universe, but maybe it's a prank of some sort? It's not really a prank, though. It's like a random act of weird kindness, just leaving apples unattended for people to take. I don't know. Case file number 2541, written by Luna Astrostar. Shared locations, unshared reality. This happened when I was about 16 years old. I was sober. I invited my friend over to my house. She decided to take the city bus, which took about an hour. When she was 20 minutes away, I figured I'd take a quick shower before she got to my house. I typically only take 5 to 10 minutes in the shower, so I wasn't worried. I got in the shower, and after what I'd guess would have been about 10 minutes, I hear my front door open, I hear my friend say my name. My real name is long and uncommon. My friends usually just call me by the last half of it. Nobody in my house calls me my nickname, just my friends, and anyone else I meet outside of my family. OP, are you here? It was very distinctively my friend's voice. I figured I lost track of time in the shower, and I quickly finished up my shower and got out. I assumed she just let herself in my house, and would have been sitting on my bed waiting for me. So I walk inside my room, already halfway through saying hi to her, but she's not there. I walk back to both bathrooms to see if she's there. She's not. I look in another room and the front room. She's not there. I yelled her name. Nothing. So I grabbed my phone, because we had our locations being shared with each other. She was still 2 to 3 miles away from my house. I texted her immediately what happened, and told her how scared and confused I was feeling. She didn't know what to say. The only people in my house when it happened were my brother, dad, grandma, and grandpa. None of them walked in the front door and said my name. My grandma and friend have very different voices, and my grandma is the only other girl that would have been home that could have vaguely sounded like my friend. My grandma said she didn't say anything though. She was sitting in her bedroom and heard my friend come in too, or whatever the fluck that was. That your grandma heard the voice too is very good for you. You know something really was there. Just an astral projection, perhaps? Could be. If you concentrate really hard on some place you want to be, sometimes your essence can move on ahead of you. Case file number 2542, written by OKBus4303. Home for the holidays, hell in the living room. My house was built in the 90s, and my family has lived in it upon its completion. Absolutely no reason for my house to be haunted or demonic, yet unnatural things always happen in my home. I've heard footsteps in the attic and I felt uneasiness, but mostly things that I could reasonably explain as, oh, squirrels in the attic? Maybe I'm just scared for no reason, and such, until a few years ago. Every Christmas, my family would come over and stay the holiday in my house. I was around 16, and my room was taken over by my uncle, meaning I had to pack my stuff and move to the couch in my living room, next to the Christmas tree. One night, I was trying to go to sleep earlier than usual, around 9 p.m. I just wanted the night to be over with. I was lying there listening to the Christmas tunes my tree played, when suddenly I hear a small, silent whisper. I tried listening closely since it sounded like it could be coming from the tree. Wanted to confirm it was. I was bored and couldn't sleep. But the whispers only got louder. It was unintelligible, like whispers were clear, yet I couldn't hear anything they were saying. I got up and stared at the tree and asked, "Who's whispering?" Everything went dead silent except for the sound of "Oh, Little Town of Bethlehem" playing from the tree. Staring at the tree, I took it as I was losing my mind and laid back down pretending nothing happened. That's when all hell broke loose. A loud and clear whisper, as if right next to my ear, said, "He can hear us." And a barrage of voices overwhelmed me. I'm tearing up remembering it. I could hear the whispers this time. "Help us, help, save us." I was terrified. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to run, but I was scared to acknowledge that I could hear them. Finally, I got up and ran like hell to the room where my parents were watching a movie. I don't really know how to end my experience. I slept in the room, and since then I've yet to hear those voices again. It's weird. When I recount or remember this experience, I begin to tear up for some reason. It's like a cacophony of trapped ghosts or spirits embedded in the tree. I guess that's as good an explanation as any. Case file number 2543, written by The Uncle Awesome 07. A desk, a light, and a mystery. Some background. I'm 55 years old and a staunch skeptic when it comes to anything paranormal. Is the afterlife and paranormal stuff possible? Sure. Probably? I don't think so. But I'm not narcissistic enough to say I know either way. My dad passed away unexpectedly in January of this year. A few days later, my sister and I were at my mom's house and went outside to grab some stuff from her car. My parents' house has a set of motion detector spotlights on the edge of the roof that haven't worked in over 10 years, according to my mom. The lights are on constant power, not a light switch. As my sister and I are in the driveway, the lights start flickering. Shut on and off about a dozen times and then nothing. Okay. Fast forward 2 weeks later, and I wake up one morning and walk into my office. I work from home. My desk is always neat, everything just so. I can't stand clutter, and neatness makes me more productive. That morning, it looks like a tornado hit the desk. My papers are scattered all over the place. The coffee cup that holds my pen and pencils is tipped over. Everything is everywhere. I don't have pets. The office door was closed, and I was the only one in the house at night. No windows open, no breeze to make a mess. The weirdest and most disconcerting thing I found, though, was when I walked around to the front of the desk. I found an earbud on the floor, but I haven't used these earbuds in years. The case was shut closed and still in the back of my desk drawer, where I left it. The other earbud was still in the case. How in the hell did the earbud get out of the case and end up on the floor? These buds are older and I haven't used them in years, let alone touched them. Oh, and I have a house alarm that was set that night, so there's no possibility that someone broke in. I'm still freaked out. Case file number 2544, written by Love Arizona, 1990. Money doesn't grow on trees. I haven't been anywhere in the past few days except my home, due to being in between jobs and trying to save money. Anyhow, I always have some extra cash in my wallet for random occasions. I specifically went into my wallet last night to count how much I had. I had 4 20s, 1 10, 2 5s, and 4 1s. I have a very good memory, especially with cash on hand. So I wake up today and go about my business. And at some point in the afternoon, I was organizing my room and went in my wallet to add a new debit card I got in the mail. I just so happened to notice my wallet wasn't as fat. I now counted 2 $20 bills, and that was it. I was losing my mind for about 30 minutes looking around, as if it possibly fell out. No money to be found anywhere. I'm going up and down the stairs, to along around the house perplexed. How is this possible? I haven't gone anywhere. I just saw and counted it. I'm already losing my mind, not because of the amounting, but because there's money missing in general. Then the unthinkable happens, and now I'm kind of unsure what to even think. I go back upstairs after all this overthinking and pacing around, and check my wallet again just to reassure myself that I'm really missing most of my cash. I go in my wallet and there is 1 20, 1 10, 1 5, and 1 $1 bill. I know for a fact I'm not crazy, but there's definitely something extremely unexplainable that just happened, right in front of me, and as a logical thinking person, I'm dumbfounded. At first I was thinking maybe somehow I am crazy for losing track of money I just counted last night, but then when the amount changed within 30 minutes again of me holding 2 20s in my hand for a few minutes to now having a whole different amount of cash is wild to me. Also, I've been home alone, doors locked, and nothing on the Ring camera. What the actual fluck? Yeah, this happening twice with different amounts is just baffling. At first I was just thinking, okay, this is the opposite of DOP where you receive an extra item. Something is being taken from your universe to a copy of you in a different universe where over there he has more cash. But it switched again? I don't get that. That's some gremlin action going on there. Or a leprechaun? I don't know. Who wants the money? Case file number 2545, written by Illegally Blonde. A sight of fire with your cranberry sauce. I'm 9, and having Thanksgiving dinner at my aunt and uncle's house with my parents. We say grace at the kitchen table, and pass dishes around afterwards so everyone can make their plates. I'm sitting at one head of the table. My uncle is on the opposite end, facing away from the rest of the house. We eat and talk for several minutes when I hear a groaning in the next room. I look around and hear it again, but closer. It's a sound I can only compare to the noises that zombies make in movies, just a low, wobbly vocal. I'm now frozen, staring at my uncle, and hear the noise again right next to me. It's in the room, it's in my ears, it's almost deafening. I start to tear up and muster the strength to ask if anyone else can hear the noise. My uncle asks what noise I'm talking about, and looks behind him. He tells my aunt, "I thought you took everything out of the oven." She says there's nothing else cooking. He jumps out of his seat, runs past the kitchen, and into the hallway where the bedrooms are. I notice black smoke beginning to roll into the dining room we are sitting in. My uncle calls out to my father and chaos ensues. Everyone runs after my dad into the hallway. There is smoke and an orange glow coming from my uncle's room. My aunt grabs my sister and I and rushes us outside. I hear screaming for several minutes before the fire trucks arrive and the emergency is handled. My aunt had a candle on a bed of potpourri and it caught fire. When my uncle got to the room, the fire had already moved onto the wall. The fire department handled it and saved the room and the house. I have no idea what the groaning was. This is the house my grandma, my mother and uncle's mom, died in the late 70s. I always thought maybe it was her calling out, trying to warn me, but the sound terrified me and still does to this day. It was not a pleasant voice and I dread hearing it again. What if I'm too late next time? Yeah, maybe a spiritual warning, but it could also just be your mind, your subconscious, having this knowledge of impending doom, and relaying that to your conscious mind via something you really would pay attention to, an unnerving, unsettling noise, a groaning zombie voice. Case file number 2546, written by Live Tomorrow 4865. A Haunting by Mr. Coffee. A much older boyfriend I had at age 27 or 28, he was 45, died of a stroke. Our relationship had been teetering, and was maybe over by the time he died. He'd become very unkind to me, and I was not yet equipped with my titanium backbone. So, anyway, I come in from work about a year after his death, and upstairs in my bedroom, a plant he'd given me looked as though it had been lifted, then slammed down on the floor, still right side up, but with enough force to scatter the dirt from the earthen pot all around, where I found the pot on the floor. It was so freaking weird. Nobody else was home. Flash forward about 12 or 15 years, happily remarried. The previous year or so, having moved into the first home I purchased. A 2-bedroom, 1-story, little gem. Beautiful hardwood floors, gorgeous property. On a quiet corner of 2 side streets, full of other kids, in an historically integrated, crime-free, safe neighborhood, where a child was living a 60s childhood, as they refer to it. Free roaming. We go to bed. It's my husband, our son, who'd have been anywhere from 6 to about 8, my grandmother, who stayed at my home part of the time, myself, our 3 cats, and our dog. Husband and I are falling asleep in my bedroom, with all the pets. Kiddo is on the sofa, soundly asleep in the living room. Grandma is sleeping in my kid's bed in his room, down the small hallway. I hear somebody walking around what sounded to be the kitchen or dining room, and thought maybe grandma or kid had gotten up for a drink, or to use a bathroom or whatever. Although I knew they'd been soundly asleep last I checked, with neither given to awakening before morning much. I figured they'd go back to bed, but the footsteps became more insistent, like attention must be paid. Dog and kitties were all asleep in our bed, so it wasn't them. A loud footfall woke the dog, and she began to bark. Something she would not normally do if a member of the household were just up. My husband had been half asleep as I'd been, but same as the dog and me, disturbed by the footfalls. He sat up and called out, Okay, who's walking around here? Get back to bed. No response. A tad bit creeped out by now, I went out of the room. Grandma asleep in kid's bedroom, kid soundly asleep on sofa. I reported back to my husband, and that was the end of sleep that night. We both got up. I brought kiddo into our bedroom, and we turned on every light in the dining room, kitchen, and living room. In the kitchen, the coffee pot I'd set up for the morning was now a mess. The filter of fresh coffee was all over the counter, and it was on the other side of the sink. It was a mess that looked purposeful. My husband and I sat up, drank beer till dawn, and that night was born of the lore of the ghost of old man who built the house, and his imaginary cat, the cat whom we named Cornpone. Never heard another weird sound, and house did not give creepy. Nothing else weird till a few years later, when a trio of weird lights were playing little flying games over the house, making my dog go nuts. Tiny UFO encounter at the end too, with a haunting. Interesting life. Case file number 2547, written by Third Eye Stride. Laundry, footsteps, and a long road to safety. Just this last week, I had an incident as I was getting the laundry out of the dryer. We keep it at my mom's. So, for a long story, this house was built in 1942, and I always knew something was there. No one died there, but the house had a troubled past. I used to bunk in the attic, and long before I started vaping, I saw my first spiritual mist encounter. As I unpacked my stuff alone that day, as we were freshly moving in, there was a billow of white mist. It had no smell, and it just hung there at the top of the steps before going away. This was broad daylight, and I of course said hello, and promised I wouldn't bother them if they didn't bother me. I never saw it again, but I tell you what, I never slept without some sort of light on, and always left the blinds open for constant light. The stairs would pop and creak sometimes in the summer, okay? I always felt like I was being watched up there, and like something was following me almost all over. Just that pressure. I have since moved out, but do the laundry there still. So I'm getting our stuff out of the dryer, ever alert since I'm paranoid anyway. Oddly enough, the basement isn't that creepy, not compared to the brightly lit attic. I'm folding things for about 5 minutes when I hear the distinct sounds of footsteps coming from down the stairs. I froze in my spot, shirt in hand, waiting for it to maybe go away? Prove itself to not be a problem and just my imagination. It stops for a second like it was thinking about it. I counted the steps, there are 13. It already stepped down the first 2, but I don't hear it anymore. I swore I heard something, and I know something's there, but try to laugh it off. You know, it isn't there for me if I don't hear it. But then it goes down one more step, then another. I know there's only one exit for me, and damn it, I want this laundry folded. While the steps still come now at a normal sounding pace, as if I've disturbed someone and they're coming to see who's there, I throw everything in the basket, and ninjally run up the 10 stairs that will lead me to safety, to my car. I count every step to every second I get closer to the door. I get to the door, close it respectfully, but fast refusing to look up until I'm safe. My car, ever patient, waiting on me like always, is unlocked. I throw the laundry basket into the seat next to me around the shifter, shutting the door like Cujo is out there. I made it out heart-burning fast, and I started my car. I'm staring hard at the window on the side door, hoping to not see the curtain move or see a face. I back out of the steep driveway swiftly but slowly, so my mom's neighbors don't think I'm crazy, and get back to my house. My sweet own haunted house where I don't feel the spirits watching me. My house that always welcomes me back. I thank my house and my spirits for never scaring the crap out of me like what just happened. My house is also from the same era, and it sat empty for years before I moved in. It had a troubled past too, but I think my spirits like me a little. I keep it clean and decorated. And I built a life here with my fiancé and our many animals and plants. Maybe I'm humanizing things too much. Or maybe Mom's house is jealous and misses me? Now time for the jokes of the day. Math is hard. 15 plus 15 is 30. But 16 plus 16 is 32. Did you know Taylor Swift was named after Albert Einstein? Yeah, 110 years after. I was making out with my girlfriend on the couch. She said, "Want to take this to the bedroom?" Me, "Alright, I'll grab this end, you get the other." My son likes elevators. My daughter likes escalators. They are raised differently. My daughter is a 10-year-old who people think is 15. She's been at the 99th percentile for height her entire life. She normally eats like a horse, but for the last couple of days she hasn't finished her lunch. She says she's just not hungry. Me, maybe that means your growth is slowing down. Child, that would be a relief. Why is that a relief? Well, you always like being tall? Not always, but being tall gets you a lot of respect. Why? People really look up to you. Eh? She proceeded to chase me around the house, trying to whack me on the head. Fair. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony, signing off.